Hello everyone, welcome to my second video blog. First up, I'd like to talk about the conclusion to the Super Bowl. You may remember last week, I made a prediction. Roll the footage. I predict the New York Giants to win 24-17. Now what does that mean for Eli Manning? He said he should be considered part of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Do you agree? Eli has one more ring than his brother Peyton, that guy, and Drew Brees, as well as he's only one ring shy of the chosen one. I guess you could say he puts the word Eli in the word elite. There were a lot of awards that were won this year. The MVP award went to Mr. Rogers. Drew Brees won the Offensive Player of the Year. In the NFL, the most important thing is the number of rings that you have. I bet Peyton, Mr. Rogers, and Drew Brees will trade all their awards just to have another chance at the Super Bowl. Eli Manning may not break passing records, win a bunch of awards, but he knows how to win games when it counts. You may remember last week I was talking about the video game Skyrim. Well, I'm still playing the game. I am over 100 hours into the game now. I'm at level 60, and I'm still continuing on. I thought I'd take a few minutes to talk about my gaming past. I first played my first video game system in 1987. It was the Atari 2600. I love going over to my uncle's house and playing games like Centipede, Asteroids, and one of the best games I've ever played in my entire life, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Essentially, E.T. is the game of E.T. from the movie. You are set in this plane, this green area. Every time you make a step, your life bar goes down. As long as you find these black dots, which are Reese's Pieces, that helps you keep your energy bar. You're supposed to go out and find different parts of a telephone. Once you do that, you call Elliot to come down. Then you're transported to an area where you try to call home. I mean, look at these amazing graphics. I digress. I know what crappy games are. Trust me, I've played this game, and I've played this game. E.T. is not worth your time. It's probably ridiculed as one of the worst games of all time. No. Never play this game. If you see an old Atari 2600 somewhere in your closet or a friend's house, do not even put E.T. in there. I'd rather play Superman 64 100 hours straight than to touch 5 minutes of E.T. That's how bad the game is. In 1988, I received my first ever video console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, also known as the NES. I remember the first time I popped in the Super Mario Brothers video game. From that point on, I became in love with gaming. I went on to own the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Sega Genesis, the Nintendo 64, the original PlayStation, the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the PlayStation 3, the Nintendo Wii, and the Xbox 360. In a later vlog, I will discuss what my favorite games were from each console. But for now, I'd like to talk about a game that I just finished before I played Skyrim. It was Final Fantasy 13. Now, Final Fantasy is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I remember playing Final Fantasy 4 back in the early 90s. In America, it was actually called Final Fantasy 2, and it was for the Super Nintendo. But I remember being in love with that game, the music. Now fast forward to the future, I realized that Final Fantasy 13 has a major problem. It's not the linear parts of the game, which opens up at around 20 hours of gameplay. It's not the music, it's the story. Sure, this game is pretty, and from a technical aspect, it blows away a lot of games today.
Oh my god, guys.
And I'd rather trade all the visuals to go back to a game with this storyline. And now Final Fantasy 13 has a direct sequel called Final Fantasy 13-2. I will definitely be picking up this game because I own every single Final Fantasy game except for Final Fantasy IX. Yes, I even own Final Fantasy X-2. Yuna and Friends. I've been reading comics since 1987. I loved anything from Superman, Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man. I remember going into my local drugstore and picking up the issues every 2 weeks. Fortunately, I went through a spell where I didn't read comic books for 10 years.
Say what?
But luckily for me, I got back into comic books thanks to Mr. Joss Whedon. He introduced a series called the Astonishing X-Men comic book series, a phenomenal series if you've not read it. And then a comic book writer named Grant Morrison released an issue called All-Star Superman, which totally blew me away. My love of comic books came back even stronger with the release of DC Comics' The New 52. The nice thing about The New 52 is for the most part, they tell you origins of all the characters. You don't even have to know what happened to the Justice League or Superman. I'm currently collecting 10 issues of The New 52. Batman, Batman and Robin, The Dark Knight, Detective Comics, Nightwing, Batwing, Action Comics, Superman, The Green Lantern, and Justice League. I know comic books can be expensive. They used to be this price, and now they went up to this price. Don't worry, if you have a limited budget, I recommend picking up these 3 issues. Action Comics, Batman, and Justice League. Those are probably my 3 favorite books of the New 52. I'd also like to give a shout out to my buddy John Armstrong. He is a magician and a big avid reader of comic books. He's teamed up with Mike Costa and Ryan Brown to create a new comic book series called Smoke and Mirrors. Smoke and Mirrors is a great idea for a comic book. This is a story of stage magician Terry Ward, who is transported into a world where magic really exists. He must use his trickery and illusions in order to survive. If you want to read this amazing comic book, please be sure to tell your local comic book shops that you want Smoke and Mirrors at your shop. Smoke and Mirrors will be available in March of 2012, so go check it out. Lastly, I'd like to talk about Harry Potter. I've never read the books. I've only seen up to movie 5, and they overall were entertaining. I love Gary Oldman, so the 3rd film especially caught my interest. I've also been told by other readers that's where the books really pick up, is the 3rd book. I will be reviewing each book in my blog, so please stay tuned for my reviews. A little late than never. I'd like to thank you for watching my 2nd video blog. If you like this video, please click like. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends and family about it. And I hope to see you soon. Until next time.